A look from outside the tower cam at the mothership, and what a far cry it was from about 4 to 8 a.m. this morning. Now, remnants still remain right there, what we like to call the old KOAM River, as we look down to the south-southeast over our satellite arrays. But at least we get a little break here, and we will for the next several hours until we get right back on it. Skywatch Storm Tracker right now, minus the cloud cover. I went ahead and got rid of that. It's just going to show up white. We know that. But here's what we're looking at. Out to the west, right there on the Kansas-Oklahoma state line. The thunderstorm activity that we had earlier this morning has already made its way through central Missouri. There is the cloud cover. Every now and then you get a little poke of sunshine, but it's going to be short-lived, that is for sure. Now, when we talk about what we were able to pick up just this morning alone, 2 to 3 inches out in southeast Kansas where it started. And even though we see anywhere from about quarter to half right here, remember, we are not done for the day. And those flash flood watches and warnings that we have, those will persist. The flash flood watches, those are indicated right there in the lime green. And of course, the dark green, you go ahead and pick a river in the 4 states and it has a flood warning on it right now. As a matter of fact, I always like to pick on the old Neosho River as it runs from north to south. We're talking about flood warnings that do not expire down in northeast Oklahoma until we get to the weekend, because we've got an additional probably at least 1.5 to 2 inches coming tonight. We'll see pockets of 3 inches before it's all said and done. Now, on top of our flash flood watches that actually extend all the way on the other side of the Mississippi, we also have wind advisories for southeast Kansas. 40-mile-an-hour northerly gusts coming through the afternoon hours, and that's on top of the torrential downpour that we'll have. Now, speaking of storm reports and wind, right here in Jasper, Missouri, we had a citizen report of a roof that came off a house trailer about 6:30 this morning. Down here in Cherokee County, we had an outbuilding that had its roof blown off, and multiple hail reports coming in as big as 1 inch in diameter. That one came out of Galena, Kansas. Speaking of watches and warnings, you also want to pay attention to what's going on from the Gulf all the way up to central Arkansas. This thing is pretty close to us right there, and that happens to be a tornado watch. It is expansive to say the least. That's everything that you see in purple, and just recently now that red would indicate a tornado warning. Tornadic activity trying to stay down to the southeast of us. Let's try to keep it there. We know what happens when we see one of those fine lines, one of those bands. We're all too familiar with that, but this thing, instead of making its way to the north, is going to be able to push to the east, and that's why this area is really the problem spot when we go to the severe thunderstorm risk map. Do want to point out that is for tonight into tomorrow. We're a long way from being done with this, and purple doesn't even hit the high category. Let's talk about what we've got here in the 4 states. For our afternoon and evening thunderstorm activity, we can experience increasing storms, a little more robust than what we had this morning, and that's evident as the elevated area turns up on the eastern edge of southwest Missouri. So this is just where it gets started. And then it's got big counterclockwise motion that allows it to intensify. Our temperatures right now, we're going to stay this way for the entire afternoon. And then once the activity starts, say this evening, we're going to go straight down. It's going to get colder with a cold front on the backside of it, to the point where, see this snow right there? They actually have winter storm warnings out in the panhandles. We don't have to worry about that. But as this thing rolls through, there we go, about 5 p.m. right there in Joplin. The counterclockwise motion lets it turn over on itself. This is where we're going to see the heaviest rain. We've already got the wind advisories out to the west. And yeah, we could see Thursday morning snowflakes. Luckily, our ground is warm enough, shouldn't have any travel impacts, but this is going to last us through Thursday morning before finally kicking out about the noon hour. That's when we can take another breath. We're going to need it because, like I said, with the flood warnings, let's go ahead and anticipate having Thursday morning travel concerns, even Thursday evening. It's going to take a while for these rivers to recede with what we're going to have. Friday and Saturday, finally some sunshine. And like I said, overnight lows dropping into the 30s. I guess let's be thankful that we have been a little bit warmer past couple of days to let that ground not support any of that snow.